Hey y'all, my name is Dovi Pokshtis, and I'm one of the core devs behind Redux Framework 3.0. Well, Redux Framework is essentially an option framework, hopefully to end all option frameworks. Our desire was to create something that was simple, yet elegant, and power enough for the modern theme developer. Unfortunately, we experimented with a bunch of different theme frameworks, and we weren't really happy with any of them. I especially wasn't. So I teamed up with Ghost1227 or Dan from EDD, and we created Redux 3.0. Now, Redux 3.0 has a lot of tools and a lot of powerful fields, and a lot of cool features, which we'll dive into a few of them. But this is just a brief overview of what Redux is and the power that you can have today for your WordPress themes. To get started using Redux is pretty simple. Head over to wordpress.org, plugins/redux-framework, or install it as your standard plugin. Now, know that the version of Redux available in the wordpress.org directory is a little bit behind the dev environment, but that's for obvious reasons. We want to make sure that it's a little bit more stable. Now, what's interesting about Redux running as a plugin is you can essentially use it in two different ways. You can embed it within your theme, or you can use something like TGM and init and force an automatic install from the WordPress repository. Now, say you do embed it in your theme, but a user wants to get a new update. They can easily install Redux from the WordPress directory, and the Redux plugin will override your embedded content, allowing them to get the newest updates while still utilizing your theme. Now, installation is pretty simple and straightforward. We'll skip that and pretend that you've already installed it. For the solution that we have, we're going to demonstrate an embedded variety. Here we have a typical WordPress instance, one that's hosted locally, 3.8, just like everything else, with the new MP6 theme. Love it. And typically, you have to create a framework or a landing page, if you will. But we'll go through what Redux has. It has a built-in demo, and this is the demo mode that ships with Redux Framework. It allows you to see a variety of the fields that we have. We have native WordPress media uploader integrated, complete with preview. Allows you to do that. Now, what's unique about our media preview is that we don't just return the URL. Most frameworks give you the direct URL to that media item. We return an array. Within that array, you will find the URL to the media, a URL to a thumbnail, the attachment ID so that you can get different sizes, and the original height and width of that image. Because we feel that more than just the URL, there are things that you can do with a media attachment ID and the size declarations. You'll also notice that we have full gallery support, the jQuery UI slider, UI spinner, switching, a concept of nesting, which allows you to enable and disable fields, if you will, layout managers, sliders, presets. Now, presets is kind of a fun and unique tool. It's an image select, a radio, if you will, except instead of having radio buttons, we have image. But you can assign it a JSON object or JSON string or an array with the IDs of different values in your panel, and that preset will override your panel defaults. Think of it like a reset of your panel, but only for select fields. This way you can ship a different color section, you can ship a different way for a header to appear. That's really interesting and really fun. Presets are really fun, and you'll notice a visual feedback if you're still on a preset, meaning the values of this preset haven't changed from what it's set to be. There will be a visual highlighting. Otherwise, it will change. We also have what we would consider the most advanced typography module in the industry. Not only does it allow standard fonts, but it has full Google font integration. Now, we don't just pull random sizes, we actually pull the Google font sizes, the character types. You can do things like line size, There are more options here that are displayed. There's also the concept of backup font. In case that font isn't functioning, we can have backup. And then there's full preview here. Well, again, with the WordPress color detector, visual response, allowing you to just see every option. You'll notice the background changes, so you can always be the visibility of this given text will always be present so that you can verify what it looks like. So let's go to a few more settings. We've got standard image select. The ACE editor, that's a really powerful thing. It allows you to have a full editor in your browser for JavaScript, CSS, and a variety of other tools. Full WordPress editor. Styling options, select box 2 throughout with that wonderful searching and clearing. We have the standard WordPress color picker. And this is a really cool feature. This is our body background. It allows you to specify a whole bunch of different things that you can output. Now, the fun thing about Redux is there are certain fields that you can specify an output array. And when you specify this output array, you specify CSS selectors. And it will dynamically generate for you as the developer the appropriate CSS for that field element. Fields like color or background, typography included, link color, and a few other things. What's also interesting is we support what's called a compiler. So if you wanted to integrate Sass or less, something like that, or say you wanted to save a CSS file for certain fields, you can specify a compiler and a hook, and that function that you run on that hook will fire every time a field denoted by compiler is changed. Now, the difference between specifying output and specifying compiler, the CSS selectors, if you specify the CSS selectors for output, they will automatically output to the header, to the actual body of your script. If you specify CSS selectors for compiler, then that value is passed as an argument, a value, variable to the compiler hook, wherein you can utilize the CSS that's dynamically generated and put it in your own style sheet. We've got basic gradient from to. We've link color, borders, concept of padding, margin, dimensions. Again, those are all with outputs. We also have the concept of field validation. If you go here and make a change and it's not an actual valid field, like meaning that was set for an email validation, and if I change it so that it's not saving as email validation, I'll get a visual feedback telling me, hey, that wasn't a valid value. You can't save that. We also have things like multi-text, multi-fields, sortable, oh, whoops, wrong field, checkboxes, radios, image arguments, sortable input boxes, sortable checkboxes, of course, select to, select image select, WordPress data throughout. You can specify for radio, for checkboxes, for a whole mess of things that say I want sidebars or say I want pages, and we'll just automatically pull it all in, and you'll have all the power of select to with those. Also, we have integrated, as opposed to Font Awesome, we have elusive icon. The reason being is I've got a buddy that does elusive icon, and I can utilize a lot of those fields. With that, you can add your own icon pack if you desire, or you can utilize what's embedded here. There's also a date option and a button set, some info fields, raw field, and a grouping field, but that is still under development. Also, we have this concept of import-export, but not only import-export, it exports your values to a JSON argument, but you can also have a link that you can share across WordPress instances to import the data for testing. So that's kind of interesting. So that's Redux in essence. You'll notice little tiny fun things like when the save buttons and such disappear from view, they'll automatically append and become sticky on the footer. Just little visual feedback things. You can collapse all of the fields at once and make one big chain, and that functions. So that's Redux. Oh, one other thing. You can do help menus here and help content. and specify what you want content here so you can add extra feedback. Most things in Redux are completely customizable. You can use our style sheets, you can change your style sheets. It's completely up to you. What we've built is a framework that we believe gives you all the power that you need. Now, coming forward in the next couple weeks is really fun little additions. Right now, we do have basic customizer support with Redux. It will take fields that are natively supported by WordPress and implement them in the customizer so you can make changes to those dynamically and see them. However, we also have coming as part of our premium offering meta boxes. Yes, the entire panel can be shipped over here to a meta box area. Now, what's really cool about this is with meta boxes, if you change a value, let's say that in your panel, you have your layout set to here. If you change it in this post and save it so that you want a right-hand sidebar, the value in this post will override the value before it gets to your functions file, before it gets to your theme files. So you only have to use one way in which to gain data in order to deploy changes to your front end. Now, one may ask, how do I actually get those values? Well, we have on our WordPress repository, or our GitHub issue tracker, we also have a wiki. And attached to this wiki is this wonderful guide that says Getting Started. Here's a concept that is rather unique with Redux. In our sample config, I'll show you, we have what's called an option name. Now, this option name is your unique variable. It is essentially where your data is stored in the database, and it allows you to specify anything. I mean, you can store it in any name you want. But what's really interesting in that name is it also counts as a variable name. So say we change it to I am cool. If you wanted to access your values anywhere in your theme or anything, you would say global I am cool. A dynamic global variable is created for you. Now, you don't always have to use the global, but you do within functions. That's just a reference of PHP. You can, of course, use globals I am cool if you wanted to do it that way. These are just basic PHP functions. And then you could output from that any key of any field item you want. Now, if you don't like that, if you want to store your data in one place and change it to another, there's an extra variable here called global variable. So you could say, hey, I'm going to keep my database key, instead of Redux demo here, I'm going to call it options. Now suddenly, all of your options are stored under the value options. So if you wanted to convert from one to the other, like one framework to another, it makes it a lot easier without even changing any of your code. Now, if you're a SMOF user and soon to be other users, we have a special tool for you. It's called the Redux Converter. If you head over to WordPress and go to find Redux Converter, this is the SMOF converter, the slightly modified option framework. You'll notice here Avada, it's a very popular theme, a very powerful theme. But if you install the Redux Converter, suddenly now there is a SMOF to Redux page, wherein it takes all the options of SMOF and generates for you a panel completely Redux compatible. Now what's really cool, it will tell you if you have a custom field that's not part of the default SMOF instance. In this case, Avada had a special ImportExport field. But if you go here to the bottom tab, you can set some values, and then out pops for you, a developer. You can view the file or download it, a fully formatted style or class to instantiate a Redux instance in your own. In other words, we convert your entire previous configuration to Redux configuration. But that's not all. If you're a Redux developer or a SMOF developer and you're like, hey, I kind of want to change my old theme, but I want my users to be able to access their data. Well, lo and behold, we've also created down here a data conversion for your current database that will, on theme activation, migrate your data for you, completely for you. We've tried to remove the pain of converting, and this will increase. If you're interested in a specific format to be converted to Redux, please support the project, donate some money, tell us what framework you want to migrate from, and we'll see what we can do to make that happen really quickly. Now, other goodies that are coming really quick, I'm just going to give you a quick preview. Yes, full MetaBox support, full customizer support, and very soon we will have a full page builder with those exact same fields, fully extensible and working. So this is just a quick little sample of Redux Framework. We hope that you play with it, enjoy it, love it. If you have questions, go to reduxframework.com. If you have issues, please submit on our GitHub issue tracker. That's github.com/Redux Framework/issues. Submit a ticket, submit a problem. We will gladly respond and do the best that we can. We are a very active group, and we really are excited for 2014. Thank you.